All right, today we're going to talk about a word that, let's be honest, a lot of us kind of try to avoid: vulnerability. We're going to dig into the incredible research from Dr. Brené Brown and completely flip how we think about this, because it turns out vulnerability isn't our greatest weakness. It's actually our best, most accurate measure of courage.
So let me ask you this. You ever been in a meeting at work and this brilliant idea just pops into your head, but you stay silent? You play it over and over in your mind thinking, what if they think it's dumb? What if I'm wrong? Yeah, that feeling, that hesitation, we've all been there.
But what if that feeling of risk, that fear of putting yourself out there, what if it isn't something to run away from? What if it's actually the doorway to your greatest strength, the key that unlocks all the good stuff, creativity, connection, a truly courageous life? Well, that's the big idea we're going to unpack right now.
To really get it, though, we first have to tear down what we think vulnerability is. We're going to look at the myths we all believe and then get to the real, powerful truth. Because honestly, for most of us, what we've been told is just plain wrong.
You know, we're often taught that vulnerability is just weakness, or it's TMI, oversharing all your secrets, or maybe just crying and complaining. But the research shows that's not it, not at all. The truth, vulnerability is that feeling of uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. It's not a weakness. It's the truest measure of courage you can find.
So what's the real definition here? It's this. Vulnerability is the courage to show up and be seen when you have absolutely zero control over the outcome. It's asking for help when you need it. It's saying, I love you first. It's pitching that creative idea knowing it might get shot down. It's that moment where you take a deep breath and you step forward anyway.
Okay, so if it's not weakness, what do we actually get out of it? This is where it gets really interesting, where the whole idea flips. Vulnerability isn't just about feeling scared, it's literally the birthplace of all the best parts of being human.
Think about it. We spend so much time and energy trying to avoid feeling vulnerable. The fear, the shame, the disappointment. But when we numb those emotions, we accidentally numb the good stuff too. Dr. Brown's research makes it so clear. Vulnerability is the cradle of everything we crave in life: love, belonging, joy, and especially things like empathy and creativity.
Dr. Brown tells this amazing story about getting calls from huge Fortune 500 companies. They'd say, hey, we love your work. Come in and teach our teams about creativity and innovation. But, leave out that whole vulnerability thing. It just doesn't work that way. You can't have one without the other. Innovation, by its very definition, is making something that has never been made before. Is there anything more vulnerable than that? No way.
And this idea leads us to this powerful metaphor for living a brave, vulnerable life. It's all about where you choose to be, sitting safely up in the stands or getting down on the field, in the arena.
This quote from Theodore Roosevelt is over a century old, but it is the absolute heart of this whole idea. It says the credit doesn't go to the person sitting on the sidelines pointing out how someone else is stumbling. No, the credit belongs to the person who is actually in the arena, with a face covered in dust and sweat and blood, the one who's trying, who's failing, and who's daring greatly.
So what does this actually look like in real life? Well, in the stands, you've got the critics, the people just making comments, and let's be real, often our own inner voice of doubt. It feels safe up there, for sure, but it's also deeply unfulfilling. But in the arena, that's where you're the one daring greatly. Let's go back to that meeting we talked about. When you stay silent with that great idea, you're in the stands. The second you raised your hand, boom, you've just stepped into the arena. You feel vulnerable? Yeah, but you also feel alive. The arena is where life actually happened.
Okay, so if the arena is so important, what's the main thing holding us back? What keeps us sitting in the stands? Well, Dr. Brown points to this one very heavy shield that so many of us carry, thinking it's protecting us, and its name is perfectionism. Dr. Brown describes perfectionism as a 20-kilogram shield. Just picture that for a second, lugging this heavy thing around with you everywhere, believing that if you can just be perfect, look perfect, act perfect, then you can avoid the pain of blame and judgment and shame. But here's the crazy part. That shield doesn't protect you at all. It just weighs you down and keeps you from ever really living.
And we have to be super clear about what perfectionism really is. It is not the same as healthy striving or trying to improve yourself. That's about you, about becoming better. Perfectionism is a defense mechanism. It's all about what other people will think. It's this frantic belief that says, if I'm perfect, maybe I can avoid getting hurt.
And this creates this awful, toxic cycle, right? It starts with that fear of being judged. So we armor up with this perfect shield.
But then carrying that heavy shield makes it feel way too risky to actually enter the arena, to try anything where we might fail. And the result? We end up feeling disconnected, isolated, and totally unfulfilled, which of course just feeds the fear all over again.
So how do we break this cycle? How do we finally put down that heavy shield and step into the arena? The answer is in shifting our whole goal. The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to be real.
The alternative to a life crushed by perfectionism is what Dr. Brown calls wholehearted living. And the goal here is not to be flawless. No way. The goal is to engage with your life from a place of worthiness, to believe that you are enough right now. It's about embracing exactly who you are, messy bits and all. So this wholehearted path is built on a few really key things. It starts with the courage to be imperfect. That's number one. Then, from there, it's about practicing compassion, and this is huge, starting with yourself first before you give it to others. It means building connection by letting go of who you think you're supposed to be and just being who you are. And the foundation, the very bedrock of it all, is this radical belief that you are enough, just as you are.
I mean, just think about it. We might look at someone's perfect Instagram feed and kind of admire it, but we don't really connect with it, do we? We connect with the friend who calls and says they're having a rough day. We connect with the boss who says, you know what, I'm scared too, but we're going to figure this out together. We admire perfect, but we connect with real. Authenticity, that's the glue.
So as we wrap this up, the real question isn't about how to get rid of fear or how to guarantee you'll succeed. The question is this: what is one small, imperfect step you can take into your arena today? Because daring greatly doesn't start with some giant heroic leap. It starts with the simple, quiet, courageous choice to just show up.